Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Your Honor, Season 2, Episode 7. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I think this episode did a beautiful job combining the A plot with the B plot. Oh, God. Okay, first and foremost, let's start off with what is kind of the A plot, I guess. I don't know. That's what I'm treating him as. But the fact is, we're picking up with Michael, and he's getting stopped by a cop, and it's like, oh, well, that's sucky. You're trying to get in touch with Nancy, let her know about the cop that's responsible for killing Robin, and this guy stops you. He knows exactly who you are, and it's like, right, you don't have your license because your license expired. And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to keep it to the letter of the law, and he's bringing Michael in. I was like, oh, great, this sucks. And lo and behold, it's like, you would just happen to be stopped by the cop who killed Robin. And it's like, no, that was on purpose. Because the moment Nancy reopened the case, he kept his ear to the wall. So it's like, the moment he heard about that, he went and saw his favorite snitch, KJ, and got the information. Luckily, we find out KJ's not dead. He's like, oh, I'm going to deal with him later. Because they have a weird relationship. Like, he let KJ live because it's like, I got what I need from you, but I'll come deal with you later. But it's also, there's a sentimentality there. But it's like, yeah, my whole life is going to come crashing down. So I'll definitely deal with you. But he felt like Michael was the more pressing matter because he knew, like, Michael and Nancy, he knew their connection. Because Michael was like, so do you know Nancy Costello? And he's like, no, why? Name shouldn't be familiar to me. And it's like, why? What department she's part of? Homicide. She investigated my wife's death. She was like, yeah. Because I think at that time, like, because you see Michael looking out the window and was like, you're not heading towards the tape. Because normally in that situation, he'd more likely be like, yeah, this isn't the way to the station. And it's like, I figured that's what that was because like he kind of looked out the window like he was almost looking at the signs that were passing by, and they made sure to show like where they were driving. I was like, they're not going to the station, are they? And it's like, yeah. And we both know what time it is. And it's like, how did you know like to come after me specifically? It's like, yeah, because the moment Nancy opened the investigation, I knew I had to keep an ear out, like making sure no one found out about it. So he's ready to kill Michael. He's going to make it look like a suicide. He's like, because Michael's like, yeah, I've already given Nancy your name. It's like, sadly, he hadn't. Luckily, he's not the only one that was there. I think Michael's name is the only one that got dropped because we know Elizabeth was there, but the name was dropped too. So at the very least, Michael was like, right, at least he wasn't going to involve his mother-in-law because KJ probably only gave up Michael, but probably not Elizabeth, you know? It's like the last thing he wanted to do was probably kill Robin's actual mom. So maybe that, but yeah, because, what's his name? Berkowitz or whatever. Like he didn't mention Elizabeth at all. So he must not know that she was there as well. So at least Michael had that. It's like, right, if I'm going to go, then there's that. But I want him to kind of second guess killing me. But he's like, nah, I got this all set up. Luckily, Nancy found him because Olivia was tracking your phone and was like, ooh, thank goodness for that. It's like, thank goodness. No. It wasn't. Was it Olivia or was it Nancy being like, oh yeah, I've been tracking your movements? Well, I think Olivia was, and she kind of tapped into it or whatever. So it's like, luckily you didn't get rid of this phone. And so it all worked out in the end. So you're like, okay. Berkowitz got shot, and it's like, cool. But it turns out he wasn't working alone. Like, who is it? Who is it going to be? Lo and behold, it's the moment like they pulled up at a house. I was like, wait, that's not going to be. It's Rudy. I kept calling him Ray the entire time. It's Rudy. It's like no. It can't be Rudy's house. It's freaking Rudy's house, dude. Okay. So some other like obviously like steering us in the direction of the plot B. Fact is, your boy Eugene is. I was like, yo, I saw him get shot in the shoulder, but for one, it was in such a public place, and I guess like Rudy, all he had to do was be covered up enough that no one saw where the shot came from, and he's no one's gonna know he's a cop. He wasn't wearing like a mask or anything, but did it super publicly. But I guess it's like as long as you avoid any security cameras that might be nearby. I mean, they were like at a bus station, but I don't know like whether there were any outward security cameras. I'm sure he avoided them. He thought, much like me, he thought Eugene was dead. So he's like, yeah, about that shooting. He's like, wait, there was no victim there? He's like, damn it, the kid's still alive. So I'm like, yes, he's still alive. Because I was about to say, like, after everything you've been through, how jacked up is that? But I'm like, oh, because like I knew it wasn't a headshot, but I thought like, man, that still sucks. He got shot. But it's like, no, he's good. I guess that's also the irony behind it too. He shot and killed, trying to go for Carlo. He ended up killing Adam. I was about to call him Ray again. Rudy ended up shooting him and didn't kill him. So he turned to the one person he could turn to, Lee. I was like, hey, because she wasn't in the season premiere. I'm like, oh, I guess Lee's not going to, the actress who plays Lee's not going to be in this season. It's like, nope, she's here. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Because I wasn't expecting her to be in this season at all. So it's like, yeah, she just didn't get Eugene's messages. And by the time she did, it's like, oh, your phone had died. So I was trying to leave you messages. And then like his quote unquote body turned up. I wonder, did she actually go to investigate the body? Because she didn't seem like almost like a, oh my God, Eugene. It's almost like a, oh my God, Eugene, you show up and you're shot. It might have been like a, oh, I thought you were dead. They probably didn't publicly let anyone see the body. I mean, Lee probably had she probably didn't want to, considering everything he went through and being there, trying to be there for him. Like, I doubt she would have wanted to see him, so she probably never went to see the body. I'm sure they would, because there was no one left to identify him except for Lee, because she's the only one that really know what Eugene looked like. So she would be able to go like, oh, that's not Eugene. So, but I think once again, just to avoid the pain, she probably never went to go check it out. She's like, last thing I need to do is see his body. So it's hard to say. Like I don't know whether that was just like, oh my God, you show up and you're shot, or is it like, oh my God, you're live. Oh my God, you're shot. Like, I don't know. But luckily she had a friend she could call in, and there's not much she could patch him up. But sadly, Eugene still needed to go to the hospital. And I like, good on that nurse when Lee was like, don't, he will be in serious trouble. So please don't. And she was like, yeah, this gunshot victim is, John Doe, 40, Hispanic. I'm like, good on you. But then the security guard like rolled up when Rudy called him up, and you're like, no. And I love when Rudy showed up, Eugene saw him. He was like, I'm Eugene Jones. I'm Eugene Jones. Now his name is out there. They know who he is. They know like, oh, who he is, what he's done. That way Rudy can't do anything now that he's made a public stink about it. It's like, yo, this is who I am. This is who I am. Get the cops involved. They're going to come and question me. And Rudy was like, I can't do nothing. I love he calls up Charlie, and Charlie's like, what you want me to do about it? You in your car, right? Yeah, you best keep driving. He's like, I'm not the one who identified the body, because he tried to talk to Big Mo, but Big Mo was like, nah, I'm not about that. He's like, I'm not the only one that's in trouble. She's like, if so, why are you the one that's sweating? Because he built he got a lot of prestige off the fact he's like, yeah, you found the kid, he's dead. Like, you're the one that made such a point. Also, I'm sure if the Baxters found out, they definitely would have brought some ref down in, and you're like, oh, Rudy, okay, I see how it is. You're going to cover up. You knew you were part of this cover up and everything. So I'm sure that, Steve, I was about to call him Steve, jeez. Rudy is like pissing himself, just like this nervous because everything's crumbling down. He didn't know necessarily about the Berkowitz stuff. He was too busy dealing with the Eugene stuff to find out about all that. I mean, his partner couldn't call him up, but Nancy ended up, he's like, I'm sorry about that kid. And Nancy's almost like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, you're not even about that. It's like, yeah, I'm about to get out of here. The only way you're going to stop me is if you kill me. And it's like, right, then who was behind? Why would you do that? And he even being like, I was a good cop at one point in time. I believed in all of this stuff. I tried to do the right thing. It's like, don't give me that spill when you've been connected to getting paid to kill people. And it's like, who? Because we still never found out, once again, that key detail they brought up last episode, who was on the phone with Nancy. I mean, not Nancy, with Robin, because it wasn't KJ, and it turns out it wasn't Berkman. It's like, but it wasn't Rudy either. The person on the phone, he's like, it was the person who always calls me in to do stuff. The one who called me in to make a car disappear. I was like, no, are you kidding me? And I was like, especially after all the guff he gave Michael about you kind of turning on me and you're responsible for Robin's death. And Nancy didn't even have to shoot him. Because Rudy was like, yeah, I'm not going to jail. He knows what jail means for a cop like him. I mean, that's what Michael was telling Berkowitz the entire time of yeah, you go to jail. They're not, especially after what you did to KJ and your other victims, is they're not going to let you go away soundly. Because not only you're a cop, you're a terrible cop on top of that because of the whole situation with KJ. It just kind of shows how terrible of a human being you are, taking advantage of someone like that and using them like that. But Either way, Nancy ends up telling Michael, and Michael confronts Charlie. Because Charlie's his mind is like, yeah, like, Robin came to me about a dirty cop, like, did I have any connections with the department because she was investigating dirty cops, and she called Rudy, because it's like, yeah, and he was like, he didn't intentionally send them after Robin. It was just kind of like, hey, I didn't know he didn't know Rudy was mixed up. He knew Rudy was a dirty enough cop that, like, hey, I need something done, I call my guy. But he didn't know Rudy was mixed up in, like, oh, cool, we're hitmen. We're like, we get paid to kill people. He didn't know about that, but he unintentionally killed Robin. And it's like, he's like, if I'd known, I would have come forward. He's like, I'm sorry, Michael. Michael's like, I'm sorry too. It's like, damn, like, that friendship, that brotherhood is down the toilet now, because it's like, yeah, he can be pissy about you, about like, oh, I mean, the Livia situation is still on the board, where it's like, right, you have my confession about him, yeah, take Charlie down, but it's like, will that do any good? I mean, Charlie didn't intentionally do it, but it's still like, yeah, the key piece has been in front of you the entire time. And it's also because for Michael, it's like, you never put two and two together. You knew a dirty cop. She was investigating dirty cops. The happenstance of her death, like, Charlie was probably didn't want to think it was a possibility. So maybe he did think about it, but he was like, no. Probably just to make himself feel better. Maybe he never wanted to completely go down that line of thinking, or maybe he legitimately never pieced it together. So I'm curious to see what that means for Charlie in the long run, knowing, like, right, your go-to guy was a killer. Then on top of that, he was responsible for killing your godson's mom and the wife of your brother and best friend, So how this is going to affect Charlie going forward, especially with the election, is going to be interesting, because obviously he's talking with his, like, right-hand campaign manager to like try and stray away from, like, Rudy, being like, yeah, we can't let this one cop kind of like poison the well. But it's like, because I'm sure he's also trying to do that because there are very few people who probably know of Rudy and Charlie's connection. So, but yeah, Desire and Rudy have kind of dealt, like, I mean, and Charlie kind of completely cleaned themselves of Rudy before all of this, or at least try to. So I am like I said, so curious to see how that affects Charlie going forward. How I mean, it doesn't make it any better, but at least now he knows the truth, and it's like, yeah, the truth always ends up hurting. It can be freeing, but it could also be so damning at the same time. So how do you handle that going forward? Like I said, it's just, I mean, it's not like this ever was fully put to bed, but at least you had Adam to focus on. Now you just have your loneliness, and Adam's gone, and now you found out about Robin, but now it also means, like, your brother was kind of like semi-directly, but accidentally, like, responsible for your wife's death. It's a whole, there's a range of emotions, Michael's kind of feeling all at once. So, aside from that element, circling back to the desire of it all, get some clarification. The guy last episode is like, yo, my brother died. I thought it was a guy that was with, also, I kept being like, oh, is that the guy who killed Robin? It's like, no, it was Rudy, but I just wasn't sure. And like I said, I think last episode, I think I kept calling him Ray over and over again. I don't think I've called him by his name, Rudy. Either way, I love that, well, not love, but there's some complications on the desire front, because circling back, the guy, he said his brother died. Apparently his brother was 13. He got into one of the baggies somehow. And you're like, oh God, it makes me think of, it's a spoiler, but I won't go into specifics. There's a situation like that in Hightown that's heartbreaking. You're like, Jesus, that sucks. And it's like, yeah, you're a part of that life, but it's like, I guess he left one of the bags around and his little brother got into him, and that's what happened. It's like, the whole point was like, yo, we're going to, like, sell these outside of the neighborhood. The one body that drops is our own. And home dude that was with Eugene, it's like, nah, he's fine. He rolls up. Because I thought he was the brother that died. I thought that's what that was kind of implying. Like, oh, did Rudy kill him? And it's like, no. he shows up and is like, yo, his brother died. It's like, no, that's not on you. Because he was like, man, I thought I cut it enough. It's like, no, that's not on you. It's not your fault. He didn't have a clean house. And then also, he tells Big Mo about the Eugene situation and that Rudy's looking for him. And it's like, yo, we're in the eye of this storm now. Because later on, the moment word got back to Jimmy about, because he had that detective, like, hey, like, we'll bring him to justice. Which obviously Gina's like, no. Jimmy, Gina, and Carlo are like, no, we want him dead. But it's like, yeah, now that the cops are involved, they're just going to arrest him. I mean, there's always a possibility. I guess you can pay someone off to, I mean, well, one of the other, I mean, there could be other dirty cops, but we know the one go-to dirty cop is, well, two are off the board now. So there's that. And the home dude is just like, yeah, he works with the Baxters, but he's not going to like kill Eugene. It's like, yeah, I might slide your way some stuff and do this for you, but I'm like, I'm not just going to kill some kid, especially now it's such a public thing, so can't do that anyway. So you have that. But yeah, Big Mo tried to stop by the family's house and they didn't want her there. And Home Dude's kind of lost all loyalty for her because it's like, yo, my brother's dead, giving me the money that we made selling those drugs. Like, oh, is that supposed to make it better? It's like, yeah, that's kind of like the cost of my brother's life. It's like, yo, you know, I'm sorry what happened to your fam. Like, we'll take care of whatever you need to. You got desires about, we got yours. We look after your family. But for him, it's like, yo, Big Mo cares more about that club rather than, because to be fair, like, she didn't have, like, and I can understand why, like, Home Dude would be pissed, because once again, she made it pretty clear how, like focused on herself she is. I mean, for one, it's like, yo, the fact that she could turn against her own family like that, despite his constant loyalty, like, you know, with Little Mo, there's that. But it's like, yeah, the money she should have been giving Roderick, that was the whole point, to get new drugs, because we can't use these drugs because it cut with fentanyl. And she still was like, yo, I'm going to get my club, then we're going to sell these, use that, work with the Roderick situation. It's like, no, you could have just paid Roderick his money, but you were so steadfast in getting what you wanted. It's like, understandable. Luckily, Lil Mo shows up and the guy's like, yo, she can't keep getting away with this. Like, this is on her. Because like Lil Mo's like, I should have flushed it when I had the opportunity. But it's like, yeah, like, because he wasn't expecting him to kind of, that was the whole point of making the deal with Roderick, was to get more drugs. And he's like, nah, this ain't on you, this is on her. So now I feel like this is going to turn into a power play where Lil Mo is going to become the new Big Mo. Like, remove her from the board in some shape or form, because it's like, yo, because eventually, it might kind of turn into like a Civil War type of situation, the lines getting drawn, like those behind Little Mo, those behind Big Mo, or because, I mean, it might even be Lil Mo showing up being like, yo, she doesn't care about any of us, you know. But I mean, Lil Mo show how much he cares. The fact is, he showed up at the funeral, was like, yo, I got your family in my prayers. Also, what he did for Eugene, even though Big Mo was all about, I mean, to be fair, she showed some leniency too. I mean, to be fair, it was like, yo, she wanted Eugene dead, and she was going to have him killed, but she spared Little Mo. But it's like, yeah, but Little Mo's family, so it is a little different. Where I think it takes, you know, you're going to be a little softer when it comes to family. She still had the gang jump him out, but still, you're going to be softer when it comes to family. She was willing to kill Eugene, but Lil Mo wasn't ready to do that. So I think that kind of speaks more about his character than her. So I think we're going to see a power play kind of come up soon. Who knows if he's even gunning for that, but that might still be the end result. I mean, she's already got her issues to deal with, because Jimmy's like, yo, that treaty, yo, it's off. And Big Mo's like, yo, a ceasefire takes two sides. You think you're the only one with guns? Got you, fam. So it's like, all right, like, you want all the smoke? You got it. And so picking up with Jimmy and them, they're trying to find Fia, but Fia, like, packed up and left. She didn't really pack up left. She just took Rocco and left. And they're trying to track her down while all this is going down. And Gina's kind of noticing, like, how Jimmy's not acting right. It's like, oh, what happened to your knuckles? What happened to Frankie? Oh, he's no longer working with us. It's like, well, shouldn't you have had that conversation with me? He's like, no, I didn't want to, so I didn't. So the deals that his father-in-law was setting up last episode, he's like, all right, I'm going to put my big boy pants on. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to do that, but it's only going to last until like the waterfront's completely set up, and you have only until now to make that decision. Okay, cool. Glad we can come to an understanding because Jimmy's tired of being pushed around by everyone, including his wife, I think. So it's just like, I'm going to handle things. It's like, cool. The kid's been found. That's kind of dealt with. Now like the family is safe. Hey, you wanted more responsibility, Carlo. You're going to basically replace Frankie as the family's protector. Gina's not too happy about that. Plus the Fia situation. She's like, yeah, don't come home unless... It's like, because she doesn't know about the conversations Jimmy's had with her father. And it's just like, yeah, because Jimmy's dad, Gina's dad humiliated him. It's like, yo, he makes me feel small. And it's like, okay, I got him. Like, cause there's probably like very little he can do. Cause for one, if he did something, Gina would be upset. But, so it's like, he's connected enough that it'd be an issue. It'd be a whole problem. But I could definitely still see Jimmy popping Gina's dad before the end of this series. I don't know if he'll actually will, but he's angry enough to do it. So, but Jimmy's got that silent rage going on, always has. But he's kind of like, it's worse because he's smiling. It's just like, yeah, I'm flexing. It's like, right? He told me to stop pretending. I'm not pretending anymore. I'm going full thug here, So, I'm done playing the role of the businessman. But it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna be me, and I'm not gonna be anywhere else. And so, we'll see how that plays out. But we get, Fia went to the church because she had no, and this was Jimmy's whole point of like, the moment he was like, she has nowhere else to go, I was like, well, she has one more place to go. But I wasn't expecting her to drop off to the church, but where she ends up at the end, I was like, yeah, I figured that's where she would be. But yeah, at the church, because she was like, yeah, I'm canceling the baptism. It's like, you know who my family is. So it's like, oh, I met most of them. It's like, no, you know who they are. He's like, yeah, I do. And she's like, I'm just tired of that. I don't want to be around any of that. She thought she could make an exception with Carlo, but it's like, yeah, he proved himself right when he was like, yeah, I'm like mom and dad. It's like, he can't break free of that, and she doesn't want her child around that. But it's like, I was ready to go, but then she thought, where am I going to go? I'm a 17-year-old single mother. I haven't even finished high school yet. Where am I going to go? And my family being who they are, they would have tracked me down. I have nowhere to go without their grasp finding me. And the priest had told a story basically about his father's situation. It's like, oh, his father was like, yeah, what are you going to do without me, without my support? And he kind of felt alone with no one to really back him up. And obviously he found the church and found God, but it's like telling Fia, like, right, there's got to be somewhere that like you haven't, like, that hasn't been home for you that could be. And I was like, yeah, Michael, because he's still family. It's like, he's Rocco's, grandfather. Plus it's like, she enjoys being around him because it's like, I think just as much as Rocco is a reminder of her brother and Adam, it's like being around Michael is probably like like the good person Adam was. I know it comes from you. So it's like, you're everything I wish my family was. Once again, I'm curious by the end of this series, will Fia find out about Adam? And if she does, I'm curious, will it change her mind about everything, or will she never know the truth? Because I don't know if Michael's ever going to tell her. Is Jimmy going to tell her? Because, Jimmy's not going to be too happy the moment he finds out Fia's over there. Because he already had issues with, like, yo, why are my children, like, gravitating? Why is my daughter gravitating towards you? Because, once again, it's also jealousy. It's like, why can't we have that relationship? Why is it the more she's pushing me away, the more she's holding on to you? So that's going to definitely be interesting. Also, we haven't seen Olivia in a minute, since like episode, 5 was the last time we saw Olivia. So we haven't seen her the past 2 episodes. So with these new developments, I'm curious to see where all that goes, that takes us. It does make me wonder what Michael ended up telling Fia. It's like, yeah, I'm a part of this thing. Someone wants to take down your dad, and will she be fine with it? Probably not. It's still her family. Or will he keep her out of the loop just so she doesn't end up telling her family? There are still some developments on the horizon. We've only got 3 episodes left because I'm pretty sure this is only 10 episodes like the first season. But man, oh man, I am so excited to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.